Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hyrule Chronicles for a few rupees more, sequel campaign in our typical style, this time in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I am the storyteller, Articulate T, and with me, as I have in the previous game, and hopefully for a long time more, we have Krez Nether playing Leisha.
Hello! I am so happy to be back.
We have Alvarez playing Ander.
Hello.
We have Rubber Pirate playing Melody.
Hello.
And we have Danny Cat playing Makoto. I looked at my brain was like, my brain
Also,
was
the
like,
ice cream van outside picked the perfect time to make noise.
oh yeah, of course, like 7 p.m. ice cream van, friggin'
Yeah.
like optimal time.
Yep.
But yes, welcome. This is technically session 0.5, as we kind of introduce our characters here. We had a session 0 previously where we kind of established like how to use Tailspire, bits and pieces about the world, kind of interacting with each other and that sort of thing. But this is going to be our effectively our start and our introduction properly to our lovely party here. But yes, so without further ado, allow me to quickly adjust things here so that I can then take care of that. There we go. So, the year is 1032 in the era of unification. An era that began with the final defeat of Calamity Ganon, the Demon King, and the resettlement of the kingdom. A new age of industry has come about as people are carried by gleaming steel wheels, propelled by fire and steam along the railways that stand as a testament to new, exciting technology. A once blighted land to the west of the greater continent, freed from its corruption many years ago, is marked as a new, boundless frontier that sees folks from all walks of life rush to stake their claim in a new world. Elsewhere, the advancement of travel and relative peace has permitted closer ties with other nations of the world, which lie beyond the Great Sea. Still, even this bright land will have its darkest shadows, and the ones who call it home will need help from time to time from those with skill of arm and great ambition. Whether it is to see the unseen, prove oneself against whatever challenges before them, or hear their name as a subject of song and story, each and every would-be adventurer would take their first and last steps on the long and dangerous journey that is called to them, just like the heroes of old. This is Hyrule, a story land where the very firmament is etched with legends, and this is but one of the great tales of which people speak. We'll get to the new map here.
Yeah.
Go. Welcome to Yotana, a small settlement only 25 years old, created in the wake of the hero of Sapphire, a brave young soul who had given his life to prevent a new calamity from arising at the hands of a maddening mage. Built upon the western bank of the Sardonic River, amidst the ever-rolling and fertile plains of Hyrule Field, Yotana is barely a few buildings large, so small in fact it would be charitable to even call it a village. Here, the Sapphire Hall resides, a modest guild house that stands as the very foundation of Yotana's purpose. The hall is the pride of Frinza, an older bokoblin who wished to inspire further acts of heroism and selflessness, all in the name of her hero, whose statue sits at the very centre of the settlement, the peaceful visage of the hero of Sapphire looking over all who enter the settlement's borders. The only requirement one must have to call Yotana their home is to have an open heart, to be willing to work as an adventurer or to aid them as they go about their often dangerous tasks. You have come to call Yotana your home, even if it is brief, and while some of you may have stayed for a while and others only just arrived, you will soon be given your first task as a member of the guild. It is a mild Ceres day, the sky marked by only a few clouds as a chill breeze blows through the settlement, the last remnants of winter. The people of Yotana are preparing to take a much-needed midday break from their morning labours, while a travelling merchant sets about restocking their wares near the settlement's southern entrance. Inside the office of the guild hall, the sunlight peering in through windows that hold little grime, two people sit. Behind a desk, looking over a number of documents, is a bokoblin, marks of age creasing her blue skin. She looks up at the other person in the room and raises a brow as she glances back down at the papers in turn. She frowns slightly and says, "So,
Oh,
you are dedicated to this task, yes?" And she asks this of Makoto. "Could you please describe your character for us?"
Makoto's probably sitting in one of the chairs, just kind of as relaxed as it's possible to get on a fairly average wooden chair. He's about, I think it was 5'7", tan skin and white hair of the Sheikah, bright red eyes, and purple scarf over some light leather armor and other traveling gear. Could be in about his 20s.
Nice. Frinza kind of nods a little bit and says, "We haven't had many Sheikah around here before. I say many, you'd be the first, which is not a bad thing. I guess
No, we don't get around much, you know.
Understood. But, well, I have to treat this initiation interview as much as others, even though I know that the Sheikah are very storied in their protections of the kingdom and whatnot.
You saying that, I was thinking, yeah, so Sheikah is either all or nothing.
No. We've been told to tone that stuff down a bit, so some of us are setting out to find lives for ourselves.
She nods a little.
I happen to have a lot of talents that can be put to good use.
No doubt. Of course, we're comparatively new adventurers guild. What I might ask, what pulled you here instead of, say, the Whitestone Guild in Riggensted, or that place down in Sarkoza?
Sarkoza's a bit too far away. And, as for the other one, I don't know. Kinda hard to have potential in a place where everyone's kind of the same.
He nods a little bit and flips to a different piece of paper and says, "I know that a lot of adventures is usually not exclusively about helping people. Even I'm not so naive about that. Is there anything that we need to accommodate for in terms of your personal goals, as it were? You don't need to stress them, but if there's anything that we need to keep in mind."
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess I'll have to meet everybody, because I'm working with them.
What is your deception DC?
My deception DC.
So 10 plus your
Is-
deception modifier.
14.
Okay. She kind of peers at you for a little while, but then relents and nods, and looks back to the papers. Of course, that is, as we both know, not entirely true. But they don't need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
After all,
They'll have a hell of a time getting it out of me.
of course, that is precisely what it is that you're trained to do, as you kind of think back to the initial day that you needed to, or that you were told to go out there. It wasn't too long ago, of course, maybe a week. It was quite late at night. You and two others were standing in what appeared to be the entrance of the Shadow Temple, a ancient ground, and sacred ground, in fact, that sits at the end of a long winding staircase within the mountains that hide Kakariko village. The Shadow Temple has undergone a number of changes over the past millennia or so, but it still holds some of the darkest secrets that have ever been whispered or transgressed throughout Hyrule's history. The soil seeped in the blood of the sins of a kingdom and its people who have done what they could in order to make sure that something like the calamity never happens again if they can prevent it. As you and two others wander through these hallways, you find yourselves almost instinctually moving in certain ways past parts of the halls, through walls as illusions break away. Every aspect of the temple being a mass deception to hide its truths, until eventually the three of you come to a room. It's small and fairly well secured. Well, it was, being the operative word. The door that you go through is wide open when it should not be. It is meant to be locked threefold with a very complicated set of keys. And it's only meant to hold one item, but it not being there is the reason why you are here. The lens of truth seems to have been stolen. And, well, the three of you are here to at least investigate what had happened here. As you are standing here, and the two others leave the room in order to try and do their own investigations further up the hall, what would you intend to do as part of your investigation here?
Well, since I've been left in the room, I'm gonna take a look around it, see if there's any marks or anything that have been left behind by anyone.
Cool, give me a perception check.
It is... It's initiative. I need it's the skills on the sheet. Efficiencies, there they are. Is perception in there? No?
Yeah,
How do I roll? Is it this one? Perception check, there it is.
there you
Cool, fine. 16.
Okay. With a 16, you scan the room over as best you can. It takes you a lot longer than you would like before you find some kind of clue. Whoever did this was clearly quite professional, but you do manage to find occasional scratch marks along the stone floors and on the pedestal itself, indicating that at least what footwear they were wearing was not the same kind of stealth gear that...
Soft shoes.
Yeah, they weren't wearing soft shoes at the very least. And on the pedestal itself, they probably were wearing gloves or holding something fairly sharp in order to cause scratches like that. But otherwise, to the naked eye, it's basically undetectable. By the fact that the door has been opened as opposed to have been like kicked open or broken down, it's clear that they picked the 3 locks that are on that, which is still impressive work. One of the other Sheikah who is outside wanders in, this fairly tall, lanky individual dressed in a very standard set of Sheikah stealth gear. Their mouth covered, their hair tied up into a tight practical bun. They cast a glance around the room and look to you and say, "Anything?" You know this fellow as Kuze.
Someone's definitely been in here. Professionals.
Possibly. Can't think of what it might be, though. Inside job, perhaps?
I doubt it. Unless someone's mysteriously gone missing recently. To go, run off with it.
Kuze folds his arms and looks to the floor and thinks for a moment. Says, "What I don't get is why the lens? Sure, it's a valuable item, but there are other things in the temple here that would be more profitable for selling. Who could use a thing that looks past illusions?"
Maybe they got an illusion they need to look past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the most straightforward option.
Quite possibly. He paces about the room. It's clear that Kuze is not exactly like... He asks too many questions in terms of like what is immediate. He doesn't think too much on the bigger picture. That's more the job of Maki, who is the other Sheikah that is with you today. She's a little shorter, more broad-shouldered. She wanders into the room and says, "Hi, guys, the daimyo wants to speak. He's back at the entrance."
Alright, well, tell him we found Jack and shit.
Yeah, of course. And she'll lead folks out as you go past the traps, navigating all the way. Eventually you find yourselves back at the entrance where standing is Daimyo Gendo, the default leader of Kakariko. It's not a terribly pleasant night tonight either. There's a kind of a harsh breeze that's going through. The sky's been overcast. It's were it not for the torches, it's almost impossible to see were it not for your own enhanced vision. Gendo is a tall fellow. Despite his age, he stands straight to attention, and with this kind of practiced focus that you can tell comes from a man who is as competent physically as they are tactically and mentally, and they cast this kind of, even in the darkness, they kind of cast this shadow that tells you that they are, well, as is normally the case, they are not happy, but they are especially unhappy at this instance.
Makoto stands as close to attention as he ever gets.
Mm-hmm. As does Kuze and Maki. And Gendo kind of looks over the three of you and says, "So, what have you found?"
A few traces in there. They didn't trigger any traps, but they left a few marks in the room. I don't think they were one of us.
He raises a brow at that, and then kind of like looks to the side as he thinks on it a moment.
Have been any out-of-towners around recently?
Not that I've been made aware of. At which point, Maki kind of raises a hand and says, "Sir, actually, there had been a report from Lana saying that a group of adventurers had camped out in the foothills nearby. There were, at least we think they're adventurers. The report says that they were not exactly as coordinated or uniformed as any kind of men, too well armed for bandits." Gendo, like, looks like makes eye contact with Maki, and the moment he does, Maki immediately shuts up and says,
Bandits can be very well armed, but that is a astute observation. After all, one cannot count on adventurers having decorum around sacred sites. All right.
Plus the specificity of the item being taken, unless I might have needed it for something.
Very well. Here's the plan. The three of you are going to go to each of these adventurers' guilds and see if you can find any trace of these adventurers who might have the item. Retrieve it and return it to Kakariko.
Kuze will kind of look up and say, of course, sir. When should we leave? And Gendo just kind of like looks at him. There's a uncomfortable pause as his eyes narrow and says,
Nowish would be a good time.
And Kuze stands to attention and nods and says, okay, sure, I'll take the Whitestone Academy. You like bow and then immediately stand straight and then like sprint walk down the hill. Maki says, I'll take the Silver Scale Beacon in Sarkoza. And she'll bow and then head off, and then Gendo looks to you.
I guess that leaves me with the other one. It was one in Yotana, was it?
I believe it is called the Sapphire Hall.
Alright.
We'll be keeping status checks on you every so often, just for the sake of it. Communication and everything.
Of course.
Gendo nods, says,
You're dismissed.
and will like walk off slowly.
Because once he's gone, Kodo like relaxes by like shoulders slump by like 2 inches. It's like
Yeah, you kind of as your mind kind of returns back to the present. Frenza, for the most part, will kind of like no discernible time has passed. She isn't just staring at you like expecting like you're having a flashback there, bud. But it's like, yes. Okay, well, if that's the case, then all right. There are a few other adventurers here that have been doing some odd jobs, maybe, but having a group cohesion is a very good idea. So, perhaps, then, we can work with something on that one. There's a job, actually, that's come up that would be good to test the waters on that. Are you up for that, or do you need time to rest?
I'm up for anything.
Very well. She'll get up from the desk and wander over to the window, where she opens it and then promptly like puts 2 fingers to her lips and does a sharp whistle and then shouts something in a language I don't know if you have. Do you have Blin?
Nope.
Okay. So she shouts something in a language that sounds kind of harsh and kind of guttural.
Like I probably heard it before, but I don't understand it.
Yeah. Off in the distance, the subtle sound of chatter of a group of individuals with fairly high-pitched voices comes to an abrupt halt, and then there's quieter, more hurried chatter before eventually there's a raucous cheer, and then about a minute later, the doors open rather sheepishly as a mini Blin peeks his head in. His little mouse ears kind of like at attention. He's got like the little horns just on his head. He looks rather skittish, and he has like a mace that's slung to his belt on the side. He says, yes, Frinza. And Frinza will look over and say, Greg, thank you. If you could go and find Alicia and Melody for me, please. Tell them to meet in the banquet hall if they haven't already done that. And Greg, the mini Blin, will kind of
I'm
nod
gonna
a bit.
give him a little wave.
Yeah. Greg will kind of like do a sheepish wave back to you, and then say, "Oh, okay," and then like turn and then scatter off to see if they can find the others. Frenza will kind of like gesture to the open door and says, "You're just in time for lunch too. If you want to, feel free to head into the
great.
hall." Yeah.
And stand up and give her a little respectful bow and just say, "Thanks for letting me join you."
Of course, I'll be with you in a little while. Meanwhile, let's see where everyone else is. So, I'm going to roll a d4. If I can find a d4. There's one.
Could roll an entail spot.
I could do that. That would be funny. Let's see. Where is my thing here? There it is.
Since you said a D4 and there's the three of us, I assumed that the fourth must be the ferret.
Yes.
1. Melody.
Uh-oh.
So you've been here for a little bit. There are a few things that can be done in Yotana. Where do you think Melody would be about midday at this point? And what would they usually be doing while in Yotana? What kind of work would they be contributing to, if anything?
There's wood.
What is the weather
cutting,
currently?
There's farming, there's
the-
a blacksmith.
The weather is fairly mild. Like, it's a fairly clear sky with a few clouds. There's a chill breeze coming in. Yeah, it's not bad. As far as weather goes, it is not bad.
I think what her skill set is useful for in a small town. Let's see. Well, I have no strength, so blacksmithing's probably not it.
Well, what if you were helping with the fire?
I feel like that manages on its own.
So there are a number of small jobs that can be done. The two most prominent ones would be working at the smithy with the Goron, and there's also working on the farm alongside 2 other Hylians.
You know what? The smithy makes sense with her wanting to stay places that are warm.
Okay.
So she's doing whatever she can help there.
There we go.
You just put everyone who's doing the smithy all together then.
Are you also doing the smithy?
I would be like that. That was the thing. I'd be hanging out with Drawboro. More talking than helping, but I am trained in crafting, so I would be helping a little bit.
Fair enough. I will also put you over there.
All right.
And while we're here, Leisha. What would Leisha be doing at this time?
I think at this moment, I don't think she'd look for like the biggest group of people at the moment. So
You could
maybe
just be
there's
hanging out.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, like of other things as well. Like if there's someone you wanted to talk to,
I
that
think mostly just worried to. Oh darn it! I am on mute. I thought that it wasn't the case. Sorry about that, folks. I think Leisha is not. They do not want to figure out if their curse of enmity or animosity is going to ping here. So they are not very much looking to be in a large group of people.
Okay. If that's the case, then the 2 individuals who probably have the least social, or 3 actually, with the least kind of like social gathering, you've got the traveling merchant here, Luta, who is currently setting up their stock at the tent near the southern entrance of town. You've got Noxana, who is currently by himself in the in his home, doing whatever kind of research or anything he would be inclined to do. And then there is Shaw.
Telescope.
Yeah. So to put the light on things, you've got the tent at the front of town with Luta, the traveling merchant. You've got Noxana, the town mage, in his home with the telescope, and you also have Shaw, who's the guy who is the cook for the guild hall, and he's currently preparing lunch by himself in the banquet hall.
Yeah, okay. I think hanging out with Shaw could be a good idea.
Okay. If that's the case, then I'll drag you to over.
I'll walk into the room in a minute then.
There we go. Okay, so going to start over here at the smithy. The smithy is not exactly a quiet spot, and that's notwithstanding the Gorons, who are currently having a rather raucous chatter, while Draboro, the town blacksmith, an Eldin Goron of quite an advanced age, spends a lot of his time trying to hammer through essentially like brackets to be used for building things, just to kind of hold structures in place. While he does have a series of basic mundane weapons and everything to one side, he tends to prefer working on more constructive things. He's accompanied by Mortara, who is a Hylian woman with tan skin, kind of frizzy brown hair that's been tied up into a bun. She has kind of like marks of soot on her face and hands. And she's kind of just quietly listening to the conversation and also trying to make conversation with Melody. Mortara kind of looks to me and says, I don't know, there's just not much to do much often around here, I don't think, she says kind of wistfully. I mean, I like helping out and everything, but, you know, like, I'm not geared towards being an adventurer like yourself.
Well, there's always something you can do. I mean, I wasn't exactly an adventurer for a while. It sort of came as it was needed. Kind of preferred my letter delivering days. Those were easier.
Or did you work for the postal office?
No. Well, more delivering messages in person and stuff.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't get how, like, I mean, they must have changed it by now, but I don't get how, like, a lot of the postmen used to run around in, like, short, like, leotards with a flag on their back. Like, I mean, couldn't give them a horse or something or anything? Like, delivering mail on foot. Jeez.
Well, some mail, some, you know, for secrecy and stuff. They don't actually write it down. I did those sort of messages.
I see. So, mind if I ask, why, did you like if you liked the job, why did you change to being like a straight up adventurer? If I can ask, I know like for a lot of people that's really personal, but I just want to be absolutely certain, like, just to be sure, like, like.
Well, I'm looking for something that I couldn't find in the normal 9 to 5. Well, I suppose it technically wasn't 9 to 5 because, you know, days of travel.
From the whenever to whenever, huh?
Yeah. The overtime pay was great.
Oh, well, whew, I bet. I mean, you know, like it's... I guess you must have gotten to see and like meet a lot of people. I guess it's venturing anyway, really. Just with a bigger
I went to
paycheck.
Elden Mount Volcano a few times.
Oh, I've been there a couple of times with Dad. Yeah, it's he's got like, whew, like exasperated exhalation of breath, where she's like remembering how warm it is in Eldin, especially the closer you get to Death Mountain.
Speaking of that warmth, Melody is wearing like winter clothes stood next to the fire and isn't really sweating or looking uncomfortable.
Yeah, like describe Melody for us, because I forgot to ask this.
Melody is a young woman, blonde hair, slightly glowing golden eyes, just a bit under average height for a woman, so about 5'4". She's generally cheerful and friendly, but is always kind of wearing thick clothing and trying to stay in the sun, near the fire, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Mortara, who's got like short-sleeved shirt, and is kind of like tugging on the collar of the vest that's kind of going over that. It's like, yeah, I have to go through a lot of fire resistance potions just to get up there. And that's if I haven't like worn anything appropriately. I can't find any comfort in the Goron designed armor that is used to keep folks safe from the volcanic area. At which like Draboro kind of over here is like well, we sweetie, we try. And like
It's not our fault you're not made of rocks.
Yeah. Motaro kind of waves it off. But like the recounting of like of Eldin and the time spent as an emissary calls to mind the key reasons as to why you are here as well. And it flashes back to a much different environment. The smell of soot and flame and hot steel is replaced with a very sterile smell. The sunny environment's replaced with a kind of darker room, somewhat colder. You're sitting in a chair, and your hands are being examined by a thin-faced Sheikah individual who's wearing like a long kind of white robe, who's analyzing the skin of your knuckles rather delicately. With their other hand, they lower down a magnifying glass on a pair of spectacles as they examine it closer. This would be Dr. Briley, who is not only the head physician at the St. Sophitia sanatorium and I forget the name, health center that is within Dawnshaw. They are also that town's government-appointed archmage. And they are kind of examining it, and the fact that they've been doing this for the past like 5 minutes and they still have that perplexed look on their face doesn't exactly inspire confidence, as they let go of your hands and then stand up and then move over to a basin in order to wash their own, and they say, and how long exactly has this been?
I was thinking before he actually speaks, Melody will just lean her head over whilst he's washing hands, say, "What's up, Doc?"
They kind of like don't respond for a little bit. It's difficult to actually. What are your perception modifier if you would like to do a sense motive? If I could do that secretly.
5.
Okay, it's hard to tell exactly what they're thinking. And their lack of while their lack of response doesn't feel great, it's difficult to tell whether or not they're just frustrated at not knowing what's going on, or if they're trying to puzzle a way to delicately deliver bad news. But Dr. Briley looks over and says, "How long have you been afflicted with this, if I might ask?"
I only really started noticing it quite recently, about 2 weeks ago. started looking around at home, couldn't really get anything about it, and heard you had some good facilities here.
They nod and think a moment and say, truth be told, we pride ourselves on having the best in Hyrule. But I have to be honest and say that I do not know whether or not I've seen anything like this before. Besides the coloration, you mentioned other symptoms too?
Yeah, kind of perpetually cold.
And they think a moment. They go over to a desk and they take up a stethoscope. And they proceed to kind of check your heartbeat and everything. And time your BPM and
It's probably peculiarly slow.
take them off again and say, how's your hunger? Have you been more hungry, less hungry?
Less, really.
Seems like your metabolic rate has taken something of a decline. Have you been getting more or less sleep as well?
I'd say more sleep.
They kind of think a moment. Say, well, I can provide you with at least something in order to try and alleviate this problem, at least a little bit, but finding a cure is going to be a bit difficult. I can take some blood and we can do some research on that if you are okay with that. And then...
I'm not squeamish. Just holds out an arm.
kind of just nods and says, one moment then. And they'll go and get the appropriate utensils. And they'll take a moment to delicately draw some blood and put it and keep it in a vial. And say,
Her
now I
blood
don't.
is blue.
They kind of hold it up to the light, hold it up, see that it's blue, hold it up to the light to see if it's a different aspect, then kind of look back and say, right. That is... Okay, well, it is certainly something to work on and research, and they'll put it somewhere secure. And once again, wash their hands. And they will go through another cabinet in which they have a series of little tinctures and vials and bottles and everything, and they'll take something out which will have these little kind of green sort of this little green powder in it. And we'll kind of walk over and hand it to you and say, mix some of this with a glass of water every other day. This should increase your metabolism. You might start getting quite hungry. It's meant to increase your heart rate as well. Hopefully it will counteract a lot of the symptoms while we work on this sort of thing. I imagine that you probably, because not a lot of people remain in Dawnshore unless they are very, very ill. And I imagine you probably have other things that you would like to do. So is there an address or anything that we can send things to so that you are, if there is developments, that we'll be able to inform you?
Yeah, if you send them to my folks, they can get in touch with me wherever I'm going to be next.
Very well. And
she will give her parents' address in Hyrule Castletown.
Dr. Bradley will kind of nod in thanks and say, yes, we'll send a couple of other vials there as well, and just make sure to go and pick them up when you can. In the meantime, we'll do what we can to figure out what exactly is the problem here. But I'm afraid that this is an entirely new affliction, which means it might take some time. Do be sure to let us know if there are any advancements in the symptoms or anything new that comes up in this. And we will do what we can.
God, I'm gonna make a roll for something.
Okay.
So I work out how to do a roll.
Hopefully, if it's on the sheet, it will have like a macroed button. And if it isn't, then feel free to just type in the chat like /roll something.
Skills are under the hand symbol.
There it is. Okay. Whee. Melody with practiced gives a practice-wide smile and says, "Well, if it's that bad, at least it gets named after me, right?"
They're kind of like taken aback by your irreverence, but like, they kind of nod a little and say, "I suppose that would be accurate, yes. But we'd rather not have that happen. Of course, if there's anything you need to, if there are other aspects that you need assistance with, we are more than happy to help, even if it's just easing the pains of the heart, as it were."
That's very mighty kind of you.
And they smile a little bit and say, "Well, feel free to spend as much time as you like in town, and we'll get to work on this immediately." And they'll bow.
I think Melody from there probably would have spent a few more days in town just trying the drug and seeing how it works before she went off to the Adventurers Guild.
So the drug itself is not like terribly like grand in terms of its improvement, because it's fighting against whatever's doing this to you. It's making some reasonable headway. There are days where after you've had like a glass of water with this powder in it, you start feeling like, I could really go for a sandwich right now, sort of like mood. But it doesn't do too much in order to alleviate the cold. It doesn't do too much in order to alleviate the fatigue. It's just like,
at least making sure that you have the stuff your body needs.
Yeah.
I feel like Melody's probably going to have gotten very into spicy food. One of the rare humans who eats gore and spice.
Oh, yes. As you are
And also only ever eat food hot.
Yeah.
No cold food.
No ice cream. No.
No ice cream. As you are spending more time in Dawnshore, give me a perception check.
Okay then. It's just there. Good. 17.
Okay. With a 17, you are hanging around. You are hanging around the Painted Sunrise, which is the inn within Dawnshore, the key inn within Dawnshore. It's a lovely establishment in which the southernmost window is this big, like in the main area, the southernmost window is this big painted, like stained glass window that, as the sun kind of passes overhead, has this cascade of colors that illuminate the room. As you're kind of sitting there, you are privy to a hushed argument a couple of tables over. You glance over and you see what appears to be a group of adventurers, clearly adventurers. All of them are like dressed in this kind of like disparate assortment of attire. They you can see clear as day that they all got their different roles in the group. You've got at least one spellcaster, one big fighty guy, one sneaky guy, the dude with the bow. But they're having an argument among themselves. And as you lean in closer, the argument seems to kind of be going as follows. One of them says, "We can't just leave Timothy here. This is not right. He's a cleric of Nehru, for crying out loud. We need him." At which point someone else in the party goes, "We've been here for a week. And what are we going to do, huh? We're running out of time every day. We can't. We need to. If we want to do something, we want to find our fortune out there. We need to go, and we've already spent a bunch of the money we were saving up for the train tickets anyway. So we need. Come on, we have to. We have to move. A third person in the group says, "Look, it's. I get it. I do. This sort of thing is rough. And I want to go out west as well. We all do. But he's been with us for a while, and it's not right for us to just leave him because he gets sick and the doctors can't figure anything out. I think we should go and pursue the lady." At which point, the fourth member of the group kind of scoffs and says, "The lady isn't real. None of them are real. You know what great fairies are like. No one can find them. No one's been able to find them. I bet even the heroes can't find them. There's just a bunch of codswallop that no one really. It's just it won't. You can't. It won't work, right? It won't." And the first one says, "Look, whatever the decision is, we have to make it now, because if we stay here another day, we won't have enough money to do anything. So are we going after this fairy tale," he says pointedly to the third person, "or are we going to go west, or are we going to sit here on our asses until hopefully, miraculously, Tim gets better?" And there's a long silence, as essentially it is a four-way tie in which no one is able to break it.
Melody, not being a shy one, it's just going to wander over and say, "Hey, I couldn't help but hear you talking about some kind of lady."
3 out of the 4 roll their eyes and go, "Oh, here we go." And then the third person looks up and says, "Yeah, we got a couple rumours a while ago. Said that there was something about the lady. They say it's a great fairy, but we don't know exactly where they are. They're just around, I guess. Long, protracted sort of thing."
I was going to suggest they look up and say, "No, not you."
That would have been. I wish I caught that. That would have been great. But yeah. They explain to Melody that they heard rumors that someone has found directions, or at least some kind of map or something, or a place to go to look for a great fairy. But as far as most people, actually, give me a society check for the sake of general history.
Where is society? There. 20.
20. With a 20, you know that for the most part, like, great fairies are very, very, very difficult to find, and it's gotten to the point now where most people don't really believe they're real anymore. Like, occasionally you'll see the occasional fairy, like the little ball of light with insectoid wings that kind of just flutters about, but people acknowledge at least enough that those fairies exist. But great fairies, like 20-foot tall resplendent beauties that hang out in groves of immaculate gardens and everything, nah, that can't be true. It's made slightly difficult in the sense that Hyrule has been categorically very bad at keeping track of history. So regardless of whether or not they do exist, no one nowadays really believes in that sort of stuff anymore. But apparently, as adventurers are wont to do, this individual at least has found enough evidence that there is a potential direction to one, that it might be quite true.
Melody would clearly show interest at the storytelling, trying to press him for what details or clues they have on the lead towards the fairy.
Okay. They'll write something down and provide it to you, which I'll provide to you later out of game, for the sake of secrecy. But they will provide you with at least, like, what they provide you with is something akin to like a limerick or a rhyme, that they believe serves as a sufficient clue enough in order for it to point you in that direction. But after they've done that, there's enough frustration and time has passed that the rest of the party effectively split in that moment. Two of them decide that enough is enough. They're going to go out west as just a duo and see how that goes. And the other two, which includes the guy who's giving you this information, opt to stay in Dawnshaw to see if Timothy gets better. And they remain there for your duration, the remainder of your stay there, before you decide to leave and pursue the life of adventure. Which brings you back here to the modern day as you continue your conversation with Mortara. Meanwhile, Draboro is still caught in the middle of a enthusiastic conversation with Unda. Unda, if you would like to describe yourself for us, please.
So, Anda is kind of a very stereotypical Goron in facial structure and kind of like a basic rocky exterior. Little bit of rock on the top of the head, a little bit coming out of the back, where the chainmail that he's currently wearing is kind of separated for comfort purposes. Anda is one of the largest people that you've probably met at 14 feet tall. And outside of that, just a very jovial, happy guy. The conversation with Draboro is probably a lot like Hispanic families talking, where half of it's in English and half of it's in Goron. Joviality type of thing. The only, like, it's you can catch about half of a sentence or a quarter of the conversation at a time if you're paying attention to it, unless you speak both languages.
Which I believe everybody present does. So, like,
Yep.
it's like 50% inside joke between these four people, which is still, like, very good in terms of how things go. Draboro is, like, laughing uproariously as he, like, continues to hammer on this bracket. He picks it up with a bare hand and then inspects it and hammers it again. He says,
Yeah, well, last time that we had folk coming around in order to drop off some raw material, I don't know how a bird of that immaculate charisma could possibly fumble such a deal. We only got half of what we were looking for the price we asked for it. Maybe Luda was just having a bad day.
Maybe. Perhaps you should start taking somebody with a little more charm with him then.
Oh, that's not going to go down well. That's his entire thing. Oh, dear. Well, things like this happen, though, I guess. We're
Make it work.
Yeah, we're starting new. Clang, clang. People have to see what we're about, and then hopefully,
and he kind of, like, taps you on the chest with the back of his fist. Says,
hopefully that'll happen fairly soon, huh?
And then at least I can at least tell people about your craftsmanship, which will increase traffic and so on and so forth, and just kind of start talking about mercantile-related stuff with it. At least the stuff that I understand with mercantile.
Yeah. Like, Draboro isn't terribly, like, numbers orientated. Like, he like it's not for a lack of understanding, or it's just like he just doesn't really care. Like he, as from what you understand about the fellow, he's very much into the craft, and he genuinely enjoys just the process of like going through all of like making things and like talking about the various different details. But he does, when you kind of get into your mercantile expertise as part of your previous travels and everything, he does kind of sit there and listen. And Matara kind of like leans over and like listens to a couple of things herself because she's more mercantile than her adopted father is. But as you kind of get into it, it does kind of then rather swiftly bring to mind one particular instance of your own travel that might have been the reason as to why you are here. One that happened quite the time ago, actually. I wouldn't say too long, maybe a couple of weeks. But as you think back to it, the day was more or less kind of like this one, though perhaps slightly windier. Your travel was heading from what appears to be Horizon Town in at the edge of the Gerudo Desert, and making your way along the roads past the Lost Woods and heading northwards. The goal was simple. You and another caravan guard by the name of Kova were to escort a collection of merchants from Horizon Town to Rigenstead so they might be able to begin their journey on the railway and head west into the new frontier. This caravan itself was quite the eclectic mix. There was a family of three, all Hylian. Roland, a fellow in his early 40s with a larger strongman sort of build. His wife Ada, in her late 30s, with flaxen hair, kind of a larger set build too. And Iki, their 16-year-old daughter. The three of them have entered the mercantile trade as a family and are very much enjoying each other's company and making do on the way. There's also Tutumbo, who is a Zora. They are the quartermaster of this caravan. They're the one in charge of distributing supplies and food as you travel equally and fairly. After all, it's going to be a couple of days on the road as you go. And you've already gone past the stables by which you can have a rest if needs be. They are this kind of portly sea Zora with features reminiscent of an angelfish. They're a fairly distant individual, a bit bland. They tend to kind of just, by comparison of everyone else, they just kind of exist. But they're still fairly good. As an individual, they spend a lot of they have a good heart. They try and do things as fairly as possible. There's is that Kamale or Kamale?
Kamale.
Kamale, yes. So there's Kamale. She's a Gerudo who has spent much of her time amidst books that are on the cart. While she's the head merchant of this little collective, she's spending a lot of her time reading or discussing bits of intricate knowledge of her own. And there's also Rook, Huck, and Globtuck, a Miniblin, Bokoblin, and Moblin, respectively. The three of them are also merchants in this trade. They help out with the hunting every so often as they've travelled, and each of them are adept in their own fields. Like Rook is a little bit mischievous, but he doesn't mean anything by it, and tends to be quite apologetic whenever his pranks goes a little too far. Huck is basically the face of the trio, and is quite I wouldn't say duplicitous, but like quite guileful in their trade, as far as you can tell. And then there's Globtuk the Moblin, a prodigious cook in his own right, and experiments with their recipes as you've travelled. And this little caravan has been a pleasant time to work with. Yeah, they're all quirky in their own way, but they are good people, and they appreciate your presence here as a caravan guard, as well as Kova, a Rito, who is an archer with features reminiscent of a Harris hawk. She's a little skittish, kind of just keeping an eye on the periphery as best she can, and isn't as sociable as other members of the caravan are, often tending to keep to herself. But she does perform admirably in terms of her role. You've been walking for a couple of hours now as away from the stable, under the stressing of more than half of the caravan. You decided to continue onwards as much as possible instead of taking the much needed rest. According to Kamale, you need to in order to get to Riggensted by the time the train would normally leave, and you won't have the funds or the patience in order to stay in Riggensted for a couple of days for another train to come by that's heading west. What do you do in the as part of the caravan? Because I imagine, given your prodigious size, you might not be able to fit in on the caravan with the others. You might have to walk on foot.
I'm definitely walking around trying to keep up to the best of my ability. It's a little noisy, but I guess kind of the best way to put it would be that that on the makes a very poorly put together song using kind of like the jangling or the hoofbeats of the animals being driven for the purposes of the caravan, with as kind of like a beat, more just to kind of entertain or to keep spirits up on the march, so to speak.
Okay. Vasquez, give me a performance check.
Absolutely. I am not anticipating this going well. 20 plus 3? Plus 3 isn't that bad. 11. Perfect.
11. Very well. Of course, given most things, if you would prefer to try for a higher roll, you are more than welcome to spend your hero point for the session today. But that is entirely up to you.
I'm good for now.
Okay. So it's difficult to get the rhythm occasionally, but you do manage to find it eventually as time goes by, and like Iki and Rook and Huck will join in as best they can, trying their best to interpret some of the lyrics. Is this song an entirely your creation by yourself, or are you basing it off of a song that has been known?
More of a song that's been known, probably something in, it's Hylian, that would be the equivalent of common, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be, Hylian, something Hylian based, because then most of the people I know would speak that.
Okay. I would say then you're probably going to be either trying to sing or trying to draw up the beat and the rhythm of one of two songs. One of them is called Moblin Over the Mountain, which is a jovial song and a favourite among tavern crowds that encourages most to join in at the chorus. It tells a story of a moblin searching for a great treasure, culminating in him crossing the mountain to find a glade where he would want for nothing. It's unique in that it holds a very simplistic melody, and it's like designed by minstrels in order to encourage like jam sessions. Like someone would start it and then people just kind of join in. It goes on and on and on and on. The other one that you could possibly be doing is Fetch the Mead, which is a quick tavern song which happens at happy hour, and everybody, like most taverns where there is a minstrel playing, like at least one person, regardless of the mood, will shout out and demand Fetch the Mead, and then everybody else is like, it's like, so you know how like it's a weird thing, but like I remember my dad telling me at one point where like when people start requesting Freebird at concerts, like as a gag, it's basically that.
So ironically, right before you said that, Crest put in their chat, "Play Freebird."
Yeah.
I knew where we were going.
Oh dear. But yeah. But yeah, it's like it's either one of those two songs. And like as you're kind of getting along and going, by the time it gets to like a fairly late evening, the sun is dipping down. The winds are actually starting to pick up, and eventually, Kova kind of like lands next to Kova, who's been spending most of their time in the air trying to get a more aerial view as they do their guard work, lands next to Kamale and says, "Sir, miss, ma'am, sorry. I think it's best if we stop for the night. The wind's really picking up. I'm not sure I like it." And Kamale, who's like nose deep in a book, looks up and goes, "Oh, right. Yes. Of course." And slams the book closed, looks over, and like takes notice of the weather and the singing and the environment for the first time. Like she's just blinked, having left Horizon Town, and is now here in green fields next to like very close to the Lost Woods. And like, oh, okay. We haven't really changed direction. Oh, it's late. Okay, everyone, we're going to make camp. We're going to pull over to the side. And we'll like begin actively directing people over to the side of the road, in a little nook of trees that keeps everything out of sight. The wagons there kind of pulled up to the side in order to form like a defensive sort of thing, while the other half of the circle is like next to some rocks and trees in order to make some kind of cover. Folks are then kind of like hunker down in order to try and like start up a campfire. Like people are going out getting sticks and wood and everything like that, and prepare to bed down for the night. As you're going, Globtuck, who like kind of sidled up to you, the only person in this group who can basically look you in the eye, kind of wanders over and says, and he kind of looks around and says, "I don't want to. I want to try and keep accommodating for you in this little adventure of ours. Cast your eye about. Is there anything out there that I can do in order to give you something a bit more appetizing for food? Like, are there any kind of rocks or things that would be like more your tastes?"
In a field, unlikely, to be perfectly honest, but I could give a look. Would that be perception?
Perception or survival, your choice.
I will give a perception check. That is a little better, at least.
Isn't this a forage? Is that not an action?
We'll see.
I thought forage
No.
was an action. Oh well. Oh, it's subsist is what it's called.
Yes.
This is not necessarily just plant stuff.
Yeah. Because that's a downtime action. So like the downtime actions are things that kind of happen over an extended period of time. So subsist would be like you're surviving off of the environment for like a week, as opposed to like what you're doing in the moment. Cool. With a 21, you you do manage to find some interesting rocks as you do. There's like a couple of rocky outcroppings and like little crevices on this part, because while you are like, you have moved a fair distance away from the mountain range that kind of surrounds the Gerudo Desert. You have managed to find like there are still like aspects of like mountainous areas and rocks and everything that you can dig into. With the 21, what you do manage to find is, through sheer luck actually, is what appears to be the start of a ore vein that is quite close to the surface. And like you think copper maybe? It doesn't seem to be a terribly big vein, but it's something that you can definitely make use of.
Be damned. And I will try to harvest some for good old Glubtuck.
Yeah, it takes a little while with the tools that you have on hand. Like because this is a merchant caravan and not a mining thing.
Mhm.
It's the tools you have on hand will prove sufficient enough to get stuff like this, but it will take a bit of time to do so. And as you go through this process, Glubtuck kind of like moves back and forth to tend to other things and get food ready for everything, but like eventually you do manage to get it done. As you finally get this finished, you become aware that like it has gotten very late, and the wind is very much picking up. It's a very windy night. As you kind of like pull the stuff back to the caravan and like set up and everything like that, everybody else is already kind of like halfway through or coming to the point where they are finishing their food. As you kind of sit down, everyone's kind of gently talking with each other about what they're expecting for like out in the west. They're all excitedly talking about the opportunities that they might have out there. Iki mentions a friend that they have made, who says that out there in the west there's treasures for any adventurer that you could possibly think of, because it's a whole wide new continent of all these different things that you could find. Let's see. Totombo mentions that they heard that there's rare minerals out there ripe for the mining, and even though there are a number of settlements out there that have likely already staked their claim, there's probably just like a lot more out there that they could probably get a hold of, that they could establish like a mining town if needs be. Ada and Roland, by extension, while they're excited to go, you can probably tell after the amount of time that you spent traveling with these people that they are hesitant to do this. This is, and not without fair reason. It's expensive to go out west. A basic ticket on the train is like 5,000 rupees. It's 20,000 rupees if you want to go first class. There's like, and neither of them are really anticipating wanting to go the long way, which is to go on foot on a passageway that goes under the bridge that takes you from Eldin to the western frontier, which is a long trip in and of itself. And in the long term may prove more expensive because you have to accommodate for other bits of travel and lack of people turning up in order to buy your goods as merchants. But thankfully, no one in this group seems to be like shouting down anyone else in terms of, oh, it's a really good idea or it's a really terrible idea. Kamale is already back in her books, and keeping an eye on things. The book she's reading actually seems to be one of the older collections that she's acquired. This desire for knowledge and scrolls over coin when it comes to her work as a trader certainly has consumed her as of late, and she's currently reading a book that has this interesting ornate design on the cover, but there's no title on the front or on the spine. It has this kind of gold inlay along the edges of it. It's a very expensive looking book. One might be forgiven to thinking that perhaps it's not the kind of thing that you have out in the open, depending on where you are, of course. Bandits still roam the road. It's part of the reason why you have this job. But she seems entirely consumed by it, just with a strict, focused face as she goes about it. After about an hour of this, people start making their way to sleep. Like Iki first, given her age, but then the others begin to kind of try and find places to sleep. After a moment, Kova, who's been spending much of her time situated a little ways from the group, like on top of a caravan and just eating the food that they were given and spending much of their thought process by themselves, does wander over to you, Anda. She says, "So, who's taking first watch, me or you?"
First off, you haven't seen anything to be worried about yet, have you? And I think, like, Anda, since everyone's falling asleep, is kind of the shift from being jovial and trying to keep spirits up to, okay, I have a job to do.
Yeah. Kova kind of looks back over out into the distance. I don't think either of you have dark vision, so you're kind of like peering out into what is essentially now pitch darkness, especially with the cloud cover. There's no stars or moon or anything in order to provide it. It's just the light you have is the light from the campfire, and that only stretches out so far. And this close to the Lost Woods, you can start hearing the occasional noises that pierce through, some of which sounds like the standard sort of noise and that you would get from this environment, the creatures in the underbrush, the shuffling of leaves in this great amount of wind. But others, not so much. Howls or laughter that just sits on the edge of your hearing, that you feel like maybe you heard something of that nature that kind of unsettles you a bit, but then it's the Lost Woods that you remind yourself that this is an environment where wandering into it is not the best of ideas. Kova kind of like looks back to you and says, besides sitting next to this very unfortunate forest, no, nothing out of the ordinary as far as I can see.
If you're feeling rested, I can get some sleep, and then I'll relieve you in a few hours.
Sure, I'll wake you up.
All right.
She situates herself in a high area, draws the bow, and then sits and watches. And for your part, where do you sleep, and do you, like other Gorons, curl up into a ball when you do?
100%. Take the armor off because it purposes, and curl up into a ball. I am also sleeping upwind from people to block as much of it as I can with my rocky exterior.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. It takes a bit of time for you to get some sleep. The noise from the wind is not exactly helpful or conducive to that. And even though you are very rocky, it's still a chill wind, so it's not comfortable. But after about an hour or so, you do manage to find the capacity to rest. And the sounds of the night drift away as you slip into unconsciousness. Though that doesn't necessarily mean that your sleep is restful. It's difficult to say exactly what it is that goes through your mind in that instant. But you feel like you are definitely being watched. Something, someone, is keeping an eye on you and your little group. It feels like a singular entity, but with many, many eyes. And as you are sleeping, towards the end of this sleep, you can hear this howling wind slowly growing and growing and growing in your hearing, until eventually you do wake up, not with a start, but also not at the time you would expect to either. The sun has broken through the cloud cover, and it is a fairly pleasant day. You feel well rested. Your body is kind of like taken all the rest that it needs as you do, and as you kind of uncurl from your rocky boulder and look over, it takes you about half a second to allow the sleep to subside before you realize that you are alone here. The carts, the people, the campfire, they're gone. Your stuff is still here, miraculously enough, but everyone else seems to have just vanished. The wind has certainly died down because the weather is pleasant, as said. But there's no immediate sign of them. Kova certainly didn't wake you up when you should have, because otherwise it wouldn't be morning by the time you woke up.
Take a look around, call out names, starting with Kova because she was the person that was supposed to wake me up. Going to some of the youthful ones that probably have more energy and probably the ones that people would want me to protect first. And then the people in charge after that, Kamai, then Tatumbo. And I think I kind of trail off after that point and getting no response.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point, I kind of just try to look around, see if I can find any clues at all, something that might have been left behind if people were taken or left, something that, if there was like drag marks or signs of a struggle or anything along those lines.
Give me a survival.
Boy. 7. I think it would be in character for Anda to use my hero point at that point.
Okay.
So I will re-roll, and we are using the Keeley rule, which is add 10 if you roll less than 10 on the
That's
dice,
correct.
if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
I rolled 10 exactly on the dice, so that stinks, but that's fine.
It's okay. With a 12, you don't seem to be able to find any trace. There's tracks enough, sure, of you arriving in this locale. There's definitely like the wheel marks of the caravan getting here. There's a scorch mark on the ground where the fire was. But there's nothing to indicate what happened to everybody. It's almost as if they've just up and vanished. It's truly bizarre. And it's something that has stuck with you even now as you come back to the present day, still in this pleasant conversation with Draboro over the nature of everything here. And it's during this conversation that... there we go. I thought Tailspire crashed then. I was going to be very scared. Is at this point in which Greg, one of the mini-blins, totters up to you and says, "Hi, sorry to interrupt. Is it like,
no, it's perfectly fine, Greg. What's up?
Points to Melody and Anda and says, "Friends, I want you in the banquet hall, if possible, please."
Well,
Must be
you
for
got
a special
things.
occasion.
You got things all right here. And she'll look to the two blacksmiths.
Drabora kind of nods and says,
Yeah, absolutely fine. We've got it, right? Don't we?
and Motara just nods a bit and says, "Yeah, we got it okay. We've kind of been lollygagging a little bit, so, we should probably get to work."
All right. Well, I'll come by and help again, or at least help you guys pass the time when I can.
Thank you.
Shall we? To Melody.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
And so it is, you make your way to the banquet hall. Sometime before this, in the banquet hall, this admittedly diminutive room with a few tables is currently being tended to by Shaw, who's a Lizilfoss. He stands tall, broad-shouldered, crocodilian features with a long snout. He's currently casually shifting things onto the counter, food and drink. He's preparing for lunch, as typically he does, going over various different specific orders that people have had for their foods. And he kind of looks down the counter to the other occupant of this room, and says,
There ain't much that you tend to talk about there, ma'am. Everything okay?
as he looks to Lisha, would you be able to describe your character for us?
Yeah. So Alicia is a close to middle-aged Hylian woman, long, pointy-eared Hylian woman, who usually wears some kind of travel garb. She has fingerless gloves. She has a scarf or shawl. She has sturdy but comfortable clothes on, long skirt, comfortable and sturdy, leather boots, and occasionally you can see her scarf moving around a little bit, as sometimes, but not always, a white-haired, red-eyed stoat pops out, mostly begging for scraps. So Lisha, who has been working on not just lunch, but like evening preparation, she has been peeling potatoes with a rather wicked-looking sickle. And if you look very closely to this stoat companion of hers, there are some red splotches underneath the right eye that sometimes you think like is like that eye infected or something, but it's strangely just the coloration of the fur. And to the question that was asked by this chef, could you repeat the name again?
Shaw, Shaw.
The question about like not talking a lot, they respond to with, well, there's not much to talk about in that case, but we're doing important things right now. We're making food. And if you have anything to talk about, I'm happy to listen.
Well, you know me, I ain't much of a talker, but I couldn't help but notice the peeling of the potatoes with that sickle of yours. You do know that we've got smaller knives if you need them, right?
Oh, yes, but I'm more familiar with my own tools.
Well, if you insist.
And we'll kind of
continue. And besides, you can't accuse me of stealing anything if I'm using my own things, now can you?
I wasn't of a mind to accuse anybody of stealing here, ma'am. Just making an observation.
I'm not accusing you of anything. It's just that in my experience, that tends to happen very quickly. It's not you, it's me, you understand?
Well, that is a very unfortunate experience that you've gotten yourself into there, but I can assure you, it's fine. If you do find yourself looking for a little more of a comfortable instrument to use to peel potatoes, then by all means, you're more than welcome to ask for a spare knife. We've got a few. And I'm sure
Well,
Drabora
thank you
will be
kindly.
more than happy to make one or two kitchen utensils that we've got, just to be sure.
That is very kind of you. Now, did anything else need peeling?
Nope, we've just got about everything sorted. We're going to have them peel those potatoes and, oh, well, you've already peeled them. Boil them, I mean. And then we'll, get to other bits of work.
Well, I do not recommend them being eaten raw, so I understand your point.
In my experience, some folk tend to like things a bit weird. You'll have to see whether or not anybody has a has an inclination for raw potatoes.
You've got me there. I'm not in the field of judging folks for what they do or do not like.
Of course. Well, I'll get to work on this. Feel free to take a seat and get started on eating anything if you need to. It is lunchtime after all.
No, I'm happy to.
Just imagining someone walking in and picking up one of those potatoes and just eating it like an apple.
Oh yeah, there's probably someone.
Yeah.
No,
Apples of the earth.
I think I'll take my lunch and find a quiet place to enjoy my victuals.
If you're sure, by all means. And we'll just kind of like begin to move stuff out. As he walks away, you do find yourself thinking back to those experiences that have left you in a state where people have assumed the worst. Of course, that's bound to happen, given your profession.
And the curses.
And the curses. But one thing does bring everything to mind, which might well have been the key reason as to why you are here, at the very least. It was a couple of weeks ago, as time moved from toward the tail end of winter, on a very cold day in Marshran. You were doing your wanderings, as is your profession, as is your arrangement. And in your hand, you currently have a letter, which is addressed from your mentor, your teacher, Maple. According to it, it came with something of a suggestion, one that you may not have cared for in the moment, which is to consider perhaps looking into one of these adventurers' guilds, maybe, as part of your training. Gives you an excuse to go further afield. Maybe have a better idea as to finding these wayward souls and helping you understand your magics and your other capabilities a bit better than simply going along the same routes. But you can't think of that now. There's a job to do here. Marshran is a very diminutive place and is mostly known for its farming of rice, given the rich soil and damp environments that provide ample grounds to grow such a crop. You've arrived here
on a fairly cold morning. As you wander in through the town gates, getting a cursory, unnerved look from the guard. You know that you're here in order to aid in the passing of a spirit that seems to have appeared within the farmhouse of this place. Apparently, according to the person who had actually specifically requested you,
Okay.
they have tried other methods of exorcism and nothing seems to work. They simply make mention that they need the help of someone whose methods are not exactly traditional. And that you are, and that they have basically run out of patience for the matter. They mention their name as Sarah, and they tell you to make your way to the farmhouse in the northern part of town when you have the next opportunity to do so.
Okay. I would be interested in gathering more information because if I've traveled through Marsh Run prior on my tasks, and it's up to you whether or not I have done so, that would have been like a year prior.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to kind of ask around if someone or someones have recently passed.
That would be, I believe, it is I believe that's a society check as you kind of begin moving around town and asking information. Oh, no, actually, I beg your pardon. It is a diplomacy, as you gather information.
Okay, well, let's see. 12.
12. Would you like to spend a hero point, or in the parlance of what we've been saying previously, would you like to make it fabulous?
Let's do that. No. I've only removed... I cannot remove the hero points? I can only add them, apparently.
That's fine.
Oh, no, never mind.
Don't worry about it.
There we go. Let's try this again. 13, which is a 7.
So that's 23 total.
23.
Yeah, that's good. So it takes a little bit of time, as given the circumstances that you find yourself in. As you approach people, it's one of those unfortunate things where folk will stop their conversation and kind of look at you with an air of caution. They're not running away screaming, of course. They're not threatening you. They're not demanding that you leave them alone. They're just... They want to dedicate their full attention to you just in case.
Yeah.
But what sort of information are you looking for? Like just general ideas as to what the state of Marsh Run is like, that sort of thing?
What's the state of Marsh Run, especially like if anyone has passed / been buried recently, and kind of ask like what their rights have been.
Okay.
RITES, not RIGHT.
Fair enough. After a bit of time speaking to the people, with the folks who are willing to give as much information as they can, compared to those who will just give you the basics in an effort to try and make you maybe go away.
Yeah.
For the most part, what you understand is this. One of the farmhands by the name of Samwise has unfortunately passed away by an accident. the standard rites that they gave were the rites accustomed to the Church of Thoreau, who was the god that he had been dedicated to.
Right.
Oftentimes, what this means is that it's essentially a day of mourning followed by a cremation, and then another subsequent day of mourning afterwards, as people are go through standard kind of ritual rites and prayers.
Yeah.
It's not like Thoreau's stuff is not terribly complex, and is more focused on the idea of moving on to the next adventure, sort of thing, celebrating their life and then remembering it and cherishing it and moving on to the future
Right.
with that in mind.
Follow up to that.
Mhm.
Did this was it Samuel?
Samwise.
Samwise, sorry. Samwise. Did this Samwise have a lover, a betrothed, a partner?
As far as most people are concerned, he did not. He died
Anyone
quite
he
young.
was interested in?
Not as far as anybody is aware.
Okay, so then it'll be a coin toss. Okay. And so with my experience, is it a reasonable assumption to consider that this Samwise is the spirit, the Poe that is currently haunting the farmhouse?
Quite possibly, yes.
Okay. I am going to go for the larger of the two possibilities, or, well, there's multiple possibilities, of course, but as I'm headed towards the farmhouse, I'll probably find like a nearby shack or something, and change into one of the disguises that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if this works. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. Wait, I'm on Renji, not on Lisha. There we go. And so this figure now arrives at the farmhouse.
Okay.
Hooded and begloved. As I open the door and let whatever moonlight is still available shine into the building.
As you enter into the farmhouse, you notice that you are not. The first thing you notice is that you are not the only one here. There are 3 individuals on the inside who are currently in the middle of a conversation. One of them appears to be a young woman with like rosy cheeks and wavy blonde hair. She's having a delicate conversation with one of 2 men. The one she's talking to is a shorter man with kind of this equally like wavy, frizzy, darker hair. He's dressed in like practical leather armor. There is a bow slung over one of his shoulders, and he's doing his best to talk rather cautiously and calmly. The other man seems to have short-cut blonde hair, kind of slimmer, angular features. Propped against the wall next to him appears to be a spear, and he has a kite shield in the other hand, and he's wearing heavier armor. He's the one who notices you enter, and then he taps the first guy on the shoulder, who looks up and like tilts his head to the side and says, "Hi."
Greetings. I had heard that this was the location of an apparition. Am I correct?
The young woman kind of like eyes go wide a little in recognition. Says, "Oh, you must be the one that I sent for. hello. My name is Sarah. I'm sorry
Yes.
about pulling you out of your way, but there's I didn't know what to do.
It's quite all right. I did, in fact, receive your missive. It is good to have sent for me. I
Sarah,
do not notice the apparition at this moment.
no, he's upstairs in one of the bedrooms. And she'll turn
I
to the
see.
other two and say, Bryce, Leon, I'm sorry to impose this on you. I know anything, but could you, it gets weird up there. Could you please keep an eye on her, just for the sake of her safety? And Bryce and Leon kind of look at each other and Bryce goes, sure, no, not a problem. We'll happy to, I mean, he'll turn to you and say, "Are you okay with us acting as escort? We haven't really we don't anticipate having to fight a ghost, but we if you need a hand." He kind of shrugs.
I appreciate the presence, but I do prefer to do my work by myself. Now, if I do happen to scream bloody murder, then of course you can rush in and be the gallant warriors.
Leon, the other, the blonde one, will kind of say, "Okay, we'll just wait outside the door, I suppose."
Of course.
Like his demeanor lacks much of the energy that Bryce seems to have.
Right.
But
Does he also look like from what I've heard, Samwise is relatively young, relatively inexperienced before his passing? Does that seem similar to this guy?
both of them seem relatively young, but they don't appear to be lacking experience. There's more demeanor. Like
Right.
they're equipped and standing competently for what you would assume to be a pair of adventurers. But
Right.
it's just that Leon is quite reserved in terms
That
of
makes sense.
his stature and everything like that, and Bryce is the more of the forward individual here. But yeah. Without much of an objection, the two of them will allow you to. Well, they won't allow you anything. This isn't their home. They'll kind of let you go first up the stairs and then follow you up to the indicated room, and then we'll kind of stop short and say nod to you to say whenever you're ready.
And while I try and keep my movements graceful, it is very clear to them if I am in fact let upstairs first, despite the more elegant look that I'm currently wearing, I'm still wearing my very sturdy boots. That is still a thing, and so I walk upstairs, kind of. Go to the indicated room. I carefully open the door.
You open the door into a room that is bitingly cold. As far as you can tell, the environment, the rest of the room itself, seems to have been not terribly touched. But in previous experiences when dealing with this sort of thing, everything has been largely different, but also largely the same. The process has always been similar. Be it communing with the pose, as it were. It's essentially like negotiating with them in something of a deal in order to have them pass on to the realms that they should be going to. This is different.
Oh.
Unnervingly so. You can see the Poe clear as day. They appear to be staring out the window. Unlike most Poes that manifest as a small ball of flame until you get closer, until they willingly allow themselves to manifest, this one appears to be of an individual of what would have been shorter stature, short, messy hair, rounded face, and freckles along the nose and the cheeks, broader shoulders, on a person who seems to have built muscle from physical labor since they were a child. They are staring out the window.
Being their back towards me, I ask in a gentle voice, "Why are you here?"
There's no response.
Okay, I step closer, maybe 2 steps into the room, feeling that almost biting cold. I ask again, "Samwise, why are you here?"
Roll for me a diplomacy.
Okay, I'm not too bad at it, but I'm not great. And I don't have hero points.
Do you have lore
Here-
of, like, spirits or something?
I have occultism.
Yeah, give that a shot instead.
Then that would be a 17.
Okay. So with a 17, you like try and like coax them with the experience and knowledge that you have as you go. Again, though, there is no response.
Hmm.
At least not for a while. But eventually, Samwise does seem to open his mouth. And says something along the lines of, "His judgment has denied us all. His judgment has denied us all. His judgment has denied us all." Over and over and over and over again.
Have I experienced a Poe being in this sort of loop of repeating thoughts?
Occasionally, but that's mostly just as part of their manifestations. Like typically, like looping thoughts like this would normally be like they died under a certain circumstance, and that's the point that they are fixated on, and you're usually able to kind of coax them out of this. But this man died at a young age in an accident and is a worshipper of Faror, and he's like, from the talk around the town that you've experienced, he didn't seem like he was guilt-ridden. He didn't seem like the type of person to fixate on stuff like that.
And does he say his judgment has denied us all, or is denied us all?
Has denied us all.
Ooh. Samwise, whose judgment?
As you ask that, still repeating himself, he does eventually begin to turn. But as he turns to you, for you and you alone, outside the window, things begin to turn dark. Until eventually it becomes pitch black. And then from that darkness, a pair of gleaming red eyes manifest. And then around those eyes appear to be the vicious skull and beak and horns of a wicked avian creature. And as you kind of recollect as to what that is and what that could be, you blink, and then Samwise, the darkness, the bird, all gone. The room returns to a regular temperature for the weather that it is. Just silence now.
I need to get my bearings here. Is this anything I've seen before? Have I read about something like this? Do I recognize the winged figure, the skull?
Give me a very easy religion check.
Religion. I'm
Yeah.
worse than that at that, but let's go. 9.
You recognize the basic iconography and the statement of judgment as possibly being related to Ivalas,
Oh,
the
okay.
god of the one of the gods of the dead, and essentially the judge. Their purview is that they're the one who judges souls as they pass on into the next life. At least they would like to think that.
What is kind of their alignment is a bit fixed, but is this one of those, well, they are part of the cosmic scale?
They are a noted god and they are openly worshipped at the very least. They are.
Are they fair?
Some would say yes. No, their worshippers would say yes, but they're by most accounts they are not typically fair. They are harsh in terms of like, and it's not in the sense of like they are doing things for the sake of cruelty. It's just that their standards are astronomically high as far as people are concerned. Law is law, and law cannot be broken. And if you break the law, you get everything you are deserving of. That's the general gist of what a lot of open worshippers of Evilas are like.
Merciless
judge
without
dread.
grace.
Yeah, very judge
Okay.
dread.
Understood. Given that the temperature has returned to normal, do I notice any trace of spiritual activity? And if not, can I basically go back to the three and give them kind of like instructions on like, hey, this is how you can avoid spirits from anchoring themselves in this place, or something of that nature?
Yeah. Yeah, you spend some time trying to find any kind of trace of the ghost of Samwise, and unfortunately, they do not appear to be anywhere. It's a saddening thing because you don't know whether or not they have successfully or safely gone to where they should be going. You don't know whether or not that was a successful bargain.
It doesn't sound like it because I did not strike any bargain.
Yeah. Which then begs the question, because in most instances of this type, from what you've been working with previously, like something like Evilas, though they may be a god of judgment in their own way, something like them was never really interfered much in this fashion. There are two noted deities responsible for the transference of souls. One is Etheria, one is Evilas. But neither of them really impacted anything to do with the bargainers, the psychopomps, the ones who would look for spirits lost within the world and then bring them to where they should be. Because after all, if someone's passed on to the next life, then they won't need to speak to a bargainer. If they haven't, then the bargainers are there to pull them back. This feels weird in what this might be, but
it's like being pulled into a third direction.
Yeah. As you kind of as you finish your checks and find everything is in order, and you go down and begin your work begin the last bit of your work in order to inform the three there of how to avoid spirits in the future, you return back to the present. The thought of to what has happened and how still in your mind. Bryce and Leon, for their part, are members of this Adventurers Guild, and you might have spoken to them once or twice in terms of like coming here to be employed or to do work or expand your horizons somewhat, and they were amiable enough. But there's little to be said about what has transpired previously. And do you like inform them of what might have happened, or you keep that to yourself for now?
I think I keep it to myself for now. But the way in which I inform them on like this is how you can get as close to hallowing a location like this, I'm not saying that like I want to prevent worse, but I am urging them to fulfill these rituals so as to bring their because Bryce and what was the other one's name again? Sorry.
Leon.
Bryce and Leon, they are not from Marsh Run, are they?
No.
No. So I will say this mostly to Sarah. And basically keep to it being like what is the word? Sorry, I'm blanking here for a moment.
That's all right.
Basically tell her like the rites at the burial have been observed, but there was something that kept Samwise here. That seems to have passed now, and in order for that to stick, as it were, these rituals must be followed.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, they take that advice and they say they'll do their best to stick to it.
Of course.
Yeah. But yes, as you dwell on this, and Shaw comes back after dropping off the potatoes in a boiling pot to tend to the rest of the food, that's when the door opens up, and Makoto walks in, and shortly thereafter, so does Anda and
Just
Melody.
look up at these and say, "Man, interrupted something."
Mm-hmm. Oh no, not at all. Just
This
kidding.
guy you've never seen before.
Oh, OBS crashed.
Oh no.
Like in an adventurers guild, how isn't it fairly common? They'll just be guys you've never seen before.
I think you two may have seen me on my way in if you were paying attention to the road. If you did, I would have waved.
There's a lot of chatter to have.
Mm.
Restarting OBS at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Anda's not the most perceptive.
Let's see.
Oh, bastards.
We should be back right now.
I see you talking and things moving.
Hells yeah.
Okay. Now to see if I can get Tailspire back.
Did Tailspire crack? What? Oh no, you're still in
No.
Tailspire. But yeah.
Good.
It's
on
my
the thing.
capture that seems to have borked as well.
Ah.
I saw that.
There we go.
Hooray.
And now let's see if I can use all of this again. There we go. You wouldn't see this form. You would see Alicia. Hello. And I would have probably been sitting in the corner. And or I would have probably like tried and leave the room with my lunch, but then you show up and I kind of like retreat to the corner of the. We only hear the rest.
Upon
Not
seeing
me.
that, Makoto
What?
just raise both hands and say, "Don't want to cause offense."
I don't know why my mic suddenly decided to mute, but I hope hopefully I'm back again.
Can't escape. We're blocking all the paths.
And unfortunately, we need to run ads.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, we're coming up to the end of the session anyway. But we'll
Yeah, but still. But yeah, we are now in this this dining hall, right?
yes.
Wandered in.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Says Leisha, you kind of like see the. Although I should ask, are we okay to continue, or is
Yeah.
I think I am, yes.
cool? Leisha, you as you see Makoto come in, followed by Anda and Melody, and just kind of retreat more into this corner. After a moment of time, Frinza herself wanders in, and says, excellent. It's good to see everybody here. I do apologize for cutting things short, but if we don't get started soon, you might have to spend another day away before anything happens. Circumstances have come up in which we have the opportunity to test all of you in terms of being a little adventuring party. I have a job that needs doing, and you're the only ones available who can do this. The cavalcade outside has only just returned from their last adventure, and they need time to rest. And Bryce and Leon are currently out on business. Am I able to trust the four of you to do this, or to do this task that I need you to do?
I mean,
What's the
depends on the
task?
task, but I'll do my best.
Excellent. She'll take out a letter and will move over and provide it to Anda, and say, the job that we have is going to be in New Masro, just down the road, half a day's journey. If you want to make your way over there when you can, then feel free to. But the details are in the letter. Pay will be sorted out as per usual. There's typically a cut that is taken from these sorts of things that is for the guild for the sake of the upkeep of the town, but the rest of it is then split between the four of you as and when needed. And of course, any additional things you have that you acquire in your little adventures, because I know that adventurers are like this, such as trinkets, baubles, magical items, they're yours to keep. Though do be careful with them, of course.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, I'll leave you to it. And when you're done, come straight back and we'll assess how you did, and we can see whether or not this is a worthwhile venture for the four of you to continue. And she smiles and turns and heads back into her office. As far as
Leisha mutters under her breath, like, well, must find a while it lasted.
Never got my first day. Not that bad.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure you'll be fine.
No, and
Sure you will
a
be.
letter we're delivering or a letter telling us the details?
That's an excellent question. What did Frinza specify which one it was?
she says to gave you the letter for you to open and read it.
Okay, then yes, I will open the letter.
Okay.
I will read it aloud to the group.
Thank you.
So I seem to have misplaced where I put the actual written letter, but I can provide the gist because I know off the top of my head. In general, somebody whose, again, name I cannot recall at the time. I will find it and provide it to you at the start of next session, but since we're at the end, no use in going through it now. Someone in New Masro, a farmstead in New Masro seems to be experiencing some trouble. There seems to be an infestation of rats within this farmstead that needs clearing out, and ordinarily they just ask the town guard or whoever's competent with a stick to take care of this, but several people have gotten hurt at this point and it's gotten rather ridiculous. They don't want to continue treating it as something that can just get overblown, so they thought they'd maybe request the aid of some armed adventurers to see whether or not there was a way to get rid of them, so to speak. An appropriate amount of pay will be offered, of course, but yeah, they need help if possible.
Mm-hmm.
The size of those Castletown sewer rats have been hearing about if they need adventurers to take care of them, but who am I to complain? Also, I haven't introduced myself, and I turn over to Makoto. I'm Anda. Nice to meet you. I'll hold out a big hand.
I'll take it. I'm brave enough. Just say, Makoto Nanami. Nice to meet you too.
Melody will lean like beside Honda saying, "Hi, Melody. Hello."
Pleasure to meet you as well.
And
Near
from
the
the
corner.
corner of the from the corner, you can see that as you turn to look at Leisha, Leisha has her eyes fixed on you, and she says, "You're a perceptive one, aren't you?"
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was muttering under my breath, and you heard me crystal clear. The name's Leisha. This here, and Renji pops out from her collar. This little one, is Renji.
Oh, he's cute.
Yeah, he's a fickle one.
Don't have to be Don't have to being fickle doesn't stop you from being cute.
Just be careful with your fingers. He's likely to bite it as much as demanding scratchies.
I wouldn't
Fair
want him
enough.
to break his teeth on mine. He just holds his hands up away from the Renji's height.
Has Renji bitten your finger before?
Bitten my finger. If he has, he's hurt his teeth. It's
Absolutely, he has. I'm just wondering if that has happened. Would you say?
I'll allow it.
Okay. There's this quizzical look as Renji kind of looks over at Anda and then just lets out a squeak and buries back into my scarf.
It'll warm up to me eventually. Do we just want to head out now and kind of talk about what all we do on the road, or since you're new?
She did say if we don't go now, we're gonna have to stay here and go tomorrow. So
I
a
mean,
short
can I
time.
grab lunch first? I just got here.
I'll come back
I'll
some
grab
That's
stuff
what
something
it's
for
here
you, It's
for.
fine. And like Shaw just rather lackadaisically goes off to find some boxes
like-
to put some
just
lunch
like-
in.
Just like make a sandwich, whatever's good.
Yeah, if you insist. And we'll just like totters off into the kitchen, comes back sometime later with a box of like with sandwiches and stuff in. Bag full of choice rocks for Anda.
Pops one into his mouth like a gumball or jawbreaker.
Yeah.
As
No, I
we're
don't. It's just like, well, I don't have anything back.
as we're about to head out, I kind of glance over at Shaw and like, well, it was nice knowing you. If you don't see me again, make yourself right with your deity, and all will be fine.
It's a cheerful way to say see you later, but okay. You take care now.
I'll make sure everyone comes back safe.
No guarantees.
Aw, thanks, big guy.
And on that note, we will bring the session to a close. Thank everybody so much for watching / listening. I've been Articulate T, the storyteller. This has been Hyrule Chronicles for a few rupees more. And with us we have had Cress Nether playing Leisha.
Death is close.
And Alvarez playing Anda.
I'll protect you from it. That's my job.
And Robo Pirate playing Melody.
Can stay the hell away from me.
And Danny Cat playing Makoto.
I will pat that fucking stone.
And we'll see you folks next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.